wasn't supposed to come home early that day. The office meeting had gone longer than usual all week, and my mind was already exhausted, yet somehow it ended sooner than expected. I remember thinking, maybe I can rest a little. Maybe I can get home before anyone else. The drive to my street was quiet. Too quiet. The sun was just beginning to dip behind the trees, painting everything in golden light. There was something peaceful about it. Or maybe I was just trying to convince myself. As I approached my house, I saw a car parked outside. At first, I didn't register it. I thought maybe a neighbor had visitors. Maybe someone was dropping by for a quick visit. But as I got closer, the unease began to settle in my stomach like a stone. The car was not familiar. Its make and color didn't match anyone I knew. And that feeling, that gut instinct, I could not ignore. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. My heart began to race, but I told myself to stay calm. It's nothing. Maybe it's just someone lost, someone who made a mistake. I parked my car slowly across the street, careful not to alert anyone inside. My mind raced with possibilities. Who could it be? Why would they be here? I stepped out of the car, my feet making soft sounds against their pavement. The air smelled faintly of rain from the morning shower. Birds were quiet now, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Everything felt too still. Each step toward the door felt heavier than the last. My chest tightened. I told myself over and over, stay calm, don't jump to conclusions, just open the door and everything will make sense. But deep down I already knew. I paused before reaching the entrance. My fingers hovered over the doorknob. I could hear faint noises from inside, the creak of the floor, the shuffle of movement, but nothing distinct. My heart pounded loudly in my ears. I closed my eyes for a moment and tried to steady my breathing. Memories of my life here rushed in, the laughter, the arguments, the quiet nights when it was just the three of us. I remembered my daughter's laughter echoing through the hallways, my husband's familiar voice calling me from the kitchen, the warm sense of safety I always felt in my home. And then, that sense of safety shattered before it even began. I wasn't prepared for what I would find inside. I wasn't prepared for the sound of a voice that no longer belonged to me. I wasn't prepared for the betrayal I could already feel in my bones. I reminded myself, you can leave. You can turn back. You don't have to see this. But my feet kept moving forward. There was no stopping now. Because sometimes life doesn't give you a warning. It doesn't ask politely if you're ready for the truth. It just shows you. And in that moment, I realized that the life I thought I knew, the life I believed was safe, was about to change forever. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't make a sound. I barely moved, afraid that even the smallest noise might give me away. My heart raced, my hands shook, and a cold feeling settled deep in my stomach. I took a slow step forward, each one heavier than the last. The wooden floor creaked faintly beneath me, and every tiny sound felt amplified in the stillness of the house. Then I heard it. His voice. Low, soft, intimate. Not the voice I knew from our marriage. Not the voice that once whispered, "I love you," in the quiet moments before sleep. This voice, it belonged to someone else. I froze. My feet were rooted to the floor. My chest felt tight. My throat was dry. My eyes darted around, unsure if I should turn back, run, or confront the impossible truth I was hearing. I couldn't make out every word, but I didn't need to. The tone, the way he spoke, it was unmistakable. It was a closeness I had never shared with anyone but him. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to rip open the door and demand answers, but I couldn't. Because sometimes the truth is louder than confrontation. Sometimes it whispers and shatters everything in its path. I pressed myself against the wall, trying to remain invisible. I remember thinking, this isn't real. It can't be real. But it was. I could hear them laughing softly, sharing a moment I was never meant to witness. I could hear the warmth in his tone, warmth he reserved for me once but now given to someone else. A wave of nausea hit me, my vision blurred. My chest burned with a mix of anger, betrayal, and disbelief. I wanted to stop listening, to pretend I hadn't heard anything. But some truths can't be unheard. Memories flashed in my mind. The nights he held me close, the promises whispered in the dark, the plans we made for the future. All of it felt like a lie. All of it had been replaced with this moment. I realized something that hurt more than anything else could ever hurt. Sometimes the people we love the most become strangers. Sometimes the home we feel safe in becomes the stage for our deepest heartbreak. I wanted to believe there was an explanation. Maybe they were just talking. Maybe I was imagining things. But my heart told me otherwise. That voice, the familiarity, the intimacy, it was a betrayal of everything I thought I knew. I stayed hidden for what felt like hours, but in reality it was only minutes. Minutes that changed my life forever. When they finally moved away from my ears, I stepped back. I leaned against the wall and let the tears come. Quietly at first, then in a torrent of pain I didn't know I could feel. I hadn't lost a husband that day. I hadn't lost a relationship. I had lost the version of myself who believed love alone was enough. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. I understood with painful clarity that nothing would ever be the same. Because sometimes betrayal doesn't shout. It whispers. And when it whispers, it leaves a wound that takes a lifetime to heal. I didn't need to see them. I didn't need to step inside to know the truth. The tone of his voice had already said everything. The softness, the intimacy, the way he laughed. It all belonged to someone else now. I walked backwards slowly, my back pressing against the wall, sliding down until I sat on the cold floor. I felt as if the room was spinning, as if the very walls were closing in on me. All the memories I had built in that house, our home, seemed to crumble in front of my eyes. I remembered the first time we moved in together, how we painted the walls, picked out furniture, laughed at each other's clumsiness, how we had imagined a life filled with love, trust, and family. And now, it all felt like a lie. I pressed my face into my hands, my body trembling. How could someone I trusted, someone I loved with all my heart, give that intimacy to someone else? I remembered my daughter's laughter echoing through these halls. I thought of her tiny hands reaching for me in the morning, her innocent eyes looking up at me, trusting me to protect her. And I realized my heart was broken not just for me. It was broken for her too. I didn't hate him, not yet. Hate is a slow burn, and mine was still raw, still stunned. What I felt now was disbelief, shock, a hollow emptiness that made my chest ache. The hardest truth to swallow was simple but cruel. Love is not always enough. I had loved him deeply. I had trusted him completely. I had believed in the vows, the promises, the future we had imagined together. And yet, none of it mattered. Because trust, once broken, cannot simply be repaired with apologies. Because a single choice, a single moment of weakness, can destroy what years have built. Because some wounds run too deep to ignore. I stayed there, sitting on the floor for what felt like hours. Time had no meaning. My body shook, my eyes burned, my mind raced with questions that had no answers. Was I not enough? Did I miss the signs? Was our love ever real, or had I been living in a dream? And then, a different realization hit me. One colder than anger, colder than betrayal. I could not go back to how things were. I could not pretend this hadn't happened. I could not sleep beside him again and look him in the eye with the same trust I once had. In that moment, I understood something profound. Sometimes, the people we love most become strangers. Sometimes, the places we feel safest betray us. Sometimes, life forces us to make choices we never imagined we could. I left the house that day without saying a word. I drove aimlessly, not caring where I went. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want to think about the future. I just needed to breathe, to survive, to hold on to the part of me that hadn't yet shattered. And in the silence of my car, I made a promise to myself. I would never let this betrayal define me. I would never let this pain destroy me. I would find strength, because I had no choice. That night, as I finally returned home, I realized that nothing would ever be the same. Not our home, not our marriage, not even the person I once thought I was. I had crossed a line from which there was no turning back. And in that painful, shattering moment, I understood. Life would never allow me to stay in the shadow of betrayal. I was no longer the woman who could ignore a whisper of deceit. I was awake now, and there was no going back. Days passed, and yet the house remained silent. Not the comforting kind of silence, the one that comes after laughter or peace. No, this was the heavy, suffocating silence of absence and broken trust. Each corner, each room seemed to hold the memory of what had happened. The air felt thick, almost impossible to breathe. He called. I didn't answer. He texted. I ignored them. The phone kept lighting up, the screen glowing with his name. Messages piled up one after another. Please, we can talk. I love you. I'm sorry. Give me a chance. I read none of them. I couldn't. People around me began to talk. Some whispered behind my back. Some tried to advise me. Maybe it wasn't so bad. Men make mistakes. You have to forgive. Think about your family. And I felt a wave of anger rise inside me, but also a deeper, more painful emotion. Shame. Shame for trusting. Shame for loving. Shame for believing that what we had was real. I couldn't help but ask myself the same questions over and over like a broken record. Was I not enough? Did I miss the signs? Was our love ever real? Was everything I built, everything I dreamed of, nothing more than a fragile illusion? The worst part wasn't anger. It wasn't even heartbreak. It was loneliness. The kind of loneliness that makes you question your own judgment, your own worth, your own sanity. The kind of loneliness that whispers, maybe this is your fault. Maybe you are overreacting. Maybe you are weak. But deep down, I knew the truth. It wasn't my fault. I had loved honestly. I had trusted completely. I had given everything I had. And yet, he had chosen to betray that love. I spent nights awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it, trying to find a reason, trying to find comfort in answers that didn't exist. I began to understand a painful reality. Love is not enough. Trust, once broken, cannot be repaired with words alone. And sometimes walking away is the only choice a strong person can make. I didn't hate him. Not yet. That would come later, after the shock faded. What I felt most was grief. Grief for the life I thought I had. Grief for the innocence I had lost. Grief for the betrayal that had slipped into the corners of my home, my heart, and my soul. I realized that silence could be both cruel and protective. By not answering him, By not confronting him immediately, I was preserving something I hadn't yet lost: myself. And slowly, very slowly, I began to see the first glimmer of clarity. I could not change what had happened. I could not erase the betrayal. I could not go back. But I could choose what to do next. I could choose my own path. I could choose to survive. And that choice, that simple act of self-preservation, was the beginning of my awakening. For the first time, I understood. Sometimes the silence is not empty. Sometimes it is full of truth. And the truth, no matter how painful, is the first step toward healing. Days turned into weeks. And still the house remained quiet. The silence that once felt heavy now began to feel like space. Space for me to breathe, to think, to feel without fear. I started noticing things I hadn't seen before. The way the sunlight fell across the living room floor, the soft sound of my daughter's laughter in the mornings, the rhythm of my own heartbeat, steady and alive. It was in that quiet, in those small moments, that I began to hear something I had almost forgotten: my own voice. A voice that had been drowned out by years of love, trust, and routine. A voice that had been silenced by betrayal, doubt, and shame. A voice that was now rising, slowly, powerfully, like a tide reclaiming the shore. I realized something that hit me harder than any betrayal could. Love without respect is not love. Promises without honesty are just words. And forgiveness without change is only pain disguised as mercy. I didn't hate him. Not yet. That would come later, if it needed to. What I felt most was clarity. I had a choice. I could stay in the shadows of my heartbreak, letting this pain define me. Or I could stand, take my hands off the walls that held me prisoner, and reclaim my life. I chose the latter. It wasn't sudden. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't feel like victory. It felt quiet, steady, powerful in its own way. I started setting boundaries, small ones at first, like not answering his calls immediately, keeping my distance and focusing on my daughter and myself. But with each boundary, my strength grew. I began to understand. Real strength isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. Real strength is quiet, patient, and persistent. It is knowing what you deserve and refusing to accept anything less. I looked in the mirror one evening, exhausted but unbroken, and whispered to myself, "You are enough. You have always been enough. Don't let anyone make you forget that." For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of peace. Not complete, not perfect, but real. And slowly I began to forgive. Not him, not yet, but myself. I forgave myself for trusting, for loving, for believing that people could change. I forgave myself for thinking that my world could be controlled, that my life could be safe from betrayal. Forgiving myself gave me clarity. I realized that walking away from someone who had hurt me did not make me weak. It made me strong. It made me a parent who would protect her child. It made me a woman who would not compromise her dignity. It made me someone who could rise from the ashes of heartbreak and still shine. And in that moment, I felt something I had not felt in a long time. Hope. Hope that life could be better. Hope that love could be honest. Hope that the future, while uncertain, could be mine to shape. For the first time, I understood the truth. Sometimes, you must lose everything you thought mattered to find the things that truly do. And my voice, quiet but unwavering, was finally back. If you are listening to this story and your heart feels heavy, know this: you are not alone. You are not weak for loving. You are not foolish for trusting. And you are not wrong for walking away when someone betrays your trust. Sometimes, life brings people into your world to teach you lessons, some gentle, some painful. Sometimes the people we love the most hurt us in ways we never imagined. And sometimes the only way forward is to protect your heart, even if it means standing alone for a while. I learned that day, when I arrived earlier than expected and saw her car outside, when I heard his voice whispering to someone else, that betrayal doesn't just break trust. It breaks the rhythm of your life. It shakes your world to its core. And yet, it also teaches you something priceless. You are stronger than you know. You are braver than you believe. You have the power to reclaim your life, no matter how much it hurts. Walking away from someone you love doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself and your future to demand honesty, respect, and truth. And one day, maybe one day, if people change and prove their love with actions, not just words, forgiveness may be possible. But that forgiveness is never weakness. It is strength. It is a choice made from clarity, not desperation. For now, my life became about me, about my daughter, about creating a space where honesty and love could thrive. The pain didn't disappear overnight. The scars remain. But I discovered that even in the deepest pain, we can find light. Even in betrayal, we can find lessons. To every woman listening, your heart is precious, protect it. Your dignity is sacred, guard it. Your voice matters, speak it. And if life knocks you down, rise again, stand tall, and know that you are more powerful than you ever imagined. Sometimes arriving early isn't bad luck. Sometimes it's a wake-up call. Sometimes it's the moment you finally see the truth. And when you do, you will find yourself. This is Voices of Sister Sephora, where women's stories are heard, felt, and honored. Pause. Soft music fades in. If this story touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe. Remember, you are not alone. Your voice matters, your strength matters, and your story is worth telling.